if you could just help us understand the desire and the motivations behind self-reliance within North Korea's project of nation building.
Basically, if we look at the history of North Korea as the northern part of the Korean peninsula, the history is telling us a lot of details to understand the positionality of North Korea. I think we have to start from a geopolitical point of view to understand the country, because it's a sort of proxy country between China and South Korea. But I do believe that North Korea didn't come from the Korean War and the split of the country, but there is something before that. I'm not claiming that the past influenced the present, but I'm trying to grasp which there are some norms of behavior that are still present in current North Korea behavior. We have to understand North Korea as a sort of proxy territory between two different realities. And I do believe that the norms that influenced North Korea come from long ago in history. And I do believe that what we are seeing and what we are watching nowadays about North Korea is something that does depend on the ideology, but is also related to something that was previously there. They are striving for a Korean uniqueness that can be found also in the foundational myth of the country. Is that, and this is a recurrent refrain in all the propaganda that we have today. The idea is that the North is leading morally also the South.
There's a Korean phrase that describes them as shrimps among whales. I'm assuming the whales being Russia, China, and Japan. I also heard that it's a sense of national pride within the North Korean regime that the nation has been able to chart their own course and resisted influence and pressure from their geopolitical neighbors, but also, I'm assuming, from the United States. My question is, do you think in foreign policy terms, North Korea derives its strength, paradoxically, kind of from its weakness? By being a smaller, less connected, and therefore less constrained nation, that actually allows North Korea to have quite a lot of diplomatic strength that it can then use to kind of manipulate the bigger, so-called more powerful countries.
Historically, North Korea differentiated itself from Russia and China in terms of ideological terms, because they never accepted to be part of the Soviet galaxy. They developed their way to be part of that galaxy. And I think this is the starting point of our reasoning. North Korea is not a weak country by itself, but I would rather say that it has been a very clever country in dealing with foreign politics and external relations, especially during the Soviet war. Marcus Noland in 1997 was cleverly writing, North Korea is muddling through, because is basically playing a game between Russia and China at the same time, but without endorsing neither Russia nor China, because they developed their own way to act in foreign policy. The dynamic of regional powers influenced North Korea in the measure in which North Korea exploited them, not the other way around. So it's not a weak country, I have to say, but it's a strong country because it's weak.
See North Korea on a trajectory of greater integration into the international community?
I don't think so. I think Kim Jong-il was doing better than Kim Jong-un, because drive of the international integration in North Korea has always been related to the economic condition of the country. When you have period of famine, you have a tendency of North Korea to open up the system, but I don't think Kim Jong-un has the same political weight of Kim Jong-il. What I'm seeing right now is just a desperate attempt of Kim Jong-un to soften a bit the international pressure, reassuring the international audience that North Korea is a reliable country, but at the same time, as we have been seeing last month, they are still testing their military arsenal and capabilities. And this is the clear sign that they are not giving up. We think it's just an opportunistic move in a moment in which North Korea is struggling a lot with famine.
Nuclear weapons is essential for the continued existence of the country. But by that, do you mean just in its current form? As in, the regime will not survive without having nuclear weapons?
Probably the regime will not survive because it will be easily forced to join the international community. In which sense? As soon as you have the idea that it could constitute a threat for the Eastern Asian environment and also for the United States, as soon as they have this leverage in foreign policy, I think they are fine. But as soon as they dismantle that, they will be absorbed by, for sure, the South Korean government. They have to give up with the idea of Kim Il-sung-jinism, which is the ideology, and of having a self-reliant nation. They give up with the nuclear capabilities and the military aggressiveness. Kim family will be in serious danger. Probably they would have to give up in being in power in North Korea.
What advice would you give anybody who was trying to understand North Korea and also to access accurate information about the nation and about that political situation?
Fortunately, what we can know about North Korea is what it already happened. If we try to dig into the media system of the country, we only found propaganda. Don't read those kind of articles as a source. Propaganda-driven resources that are biased, and we have to be aware of that, but they can be used in a different way if we change our approach to use that. You can find a lot of things about Kim daily activities. So the leader of the country activities. But you cannot read those kind of articles as a source. The only way to interpret them, I think, is to interpret them according to a broader spectrum of historical events. Then the last thing I would like to say is to analyze the graphic content of the regime, which is very talkative. As a constructivist, I do believe that the language matters in explaining human actions. So if we analyze the composition of, for example, the pictures of the leaders that are released weekly in newspapers, we can understand some sort of behavioral attitude of the regime. What the regime is like is telling you about the future movement, the future perspective. For example, in moments of coronavirus, we have no idea of what is going on in North Korea, but we know that they are wearing masks. And if they are wearing masks, means that probably they have been affected by the virus, but they will never report that.